Okay, so hello everyone. Good evening to all of you. I'm really glad to have Divij with us today. Uh, I'll say a little bit before I ask Divij more about his work. This is part of the leadership projects at Cheenta, where we try to work with nonprofits or businesses to solve real world problems and then sort of look at the impact that we might have created. Now, these are, as I mentioned, these are real world connected problems. So sometimes we fail, sometimes we succeed, and it's a lot of fun in that way. There's a lot of learning in that entire process as well. Divij worked on a project which is related to education. So he worked on a software product called Filibot, and a lot of aspects of it. There was a lot of content related activity, architecture related. So, for example, they thought about reporting and all. But the main problem, let me explain the main problem. The main problem is this, that the elementary schools in India, they are moving toward a competency based learning from the traditional learn something, take a test kind of a process. So they are transitioning into this. Now, there are a lot of rural schools in Ladakh, in Meghalaya, in West Bengal, in many other places, which cannot afford to build a software that can help them to make this transition. So that's where we have partnered with Felix School of Education, and we are building a software like this, and Divij and his team has helped. So, Divij, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and then maybe how you worked on the project?
Right. Thank you, sir. And firstly, I would like to thank Chinta and the Felix School of Education for giving me this opportunity to share my experience. So, hello everyone. I am Divij Gupta, and I am currently a high school senior grade 12 student at Welham Boys School, Dehradun. And I aspire to work in the field of STEM, particularly engineering. Now, I started working in the Filibot project about 6 months back, and I mean, it has been a very unique experience for me where I've learned a lot as well. And I have seen that through my learning, I can help others and create a tangible impact in the society itself, which was honestly really exciting for me. And, afterwards, it really felt good that my work could have some impact to others that I have not even met, that are far away from me. But through the software Filibot that we have developed as a team, that impact has been created, and I am really happy and really glad to share those experiences moving forward.
Fantastic. Just to explain the kind of impact that Divij's work and other his team members' work has been having. We are now in about 110 schools across Meghalaya, across Ladakh, and we are having words with schools in Karnataka right now as we speak. And the body of work itself is quite diverse, which we'll talk to you about it. He had a few teammates as well. Maybe he can speak about them a little bit as well. So the idea is this, that thanks to the advancement of artificial intelligence, now we can generate personalized competency reports for every student given that we have enough data. And that is precisely where a part of the work has happened, report development and all, which we'll talk about that. And then there is another part where we have to create a lot of content which would be measuring the competences, or rather these are interdisciplinary in nature. So Divij, can you tell me a bit more about the content part if you have worked on that?
Yes, sir. So, I mean, the as you explained, so the Filibot model itself of how there's the experiential pedagogy, it is being scaled in multiple factors. So, the first and the primary part where I worked was developing the content. Now, this had many factors. This had you developing activities for students. Now, this was a key factor here that activities, let's say for a grade 10 student, you can't have the same activities for a grade 5 student. So we had to create multiple activities according to the age groups for middle. for senior school and for junior school as well. And in addition to that, we had to assign, let's say, levels of grading. So, for example, we have an easy level, and then going forward, you develop on this key skills and competencies. Now, as a team, we had decided and we were given a few competency and skill based pairs so that we can design all of these activities. Now, there were about six competencies and five skills like positive learning habits, socioeconomic development, cultural development, numeracy, critical thinking, and all of these activities they aim to kind of inculcate those skills and competencies within the students themselves. Now, speaking of my team members as well, Ayan, Imam, and others. Even two students joined from the Felix School of Education. One challenge actually that we had encountered was that we could not really test these activities with outside people before actually releasing them to the teachers. So the main help was that we had two students from the Felix School of Education who could actually kind of do those activities themselves and tell us the feedback on how exactly are those skills being developed. This was one part of the content development. Then there was a second part, which was the game development part. Now we really realized that uh, when you want to really learn something, the best way to do that is to have fun with it, whether it is doing math or whether it is doing science or any other thing. So our first order there was creating a game that taught astronomy, and that was the space trivia game that we created, a card based game which can be played by all teenagers and even students below that age. It didn't have any complexities that complex physics or something, but yes, things like numeracy and etc were still developed. And this is where we went beyond what the school curriculum actually teaches. The school curriculum is based, let's say, on the planets, or on, let's say, the stars, or probably a little towards the Andromeda, but we gathered more moons, more planets, more phenomena, even science fiction. Now, this science fiction was also a very good way to actually kind of teach those skills and competencies and the subject as well. So this is the two things that we primarily did as part of the content. One, the activities, and the second, the game, which began with space trivia, but then yes, we worked on multiple games later as well.
Fantastic. In fact, Divij, I will tell you something. Yesterday, I think day before yesterday, I was having a conversation with a professor from San Diego State University, and we were discussing about the games. Okay, and this can be a completely different, mm, like a leadership project. So the idea is that here is a question: can we measure addiction? Can we measure engagement? Two things are different. So, of course, it's a question of neuroscience, that can we measure addiction and can we measure engagement? And then, is it possible to develop a protocol so that if one develops games using those protocols, we won't have addictive games, we have engaging games? And then they can obviously be have many uses. For example, they can improve mathematical skills, they can do several other things. The competency and skill based learnings can be impacted by those games. So I mean, going forward, this is something that you can, young people like you, can also think about, and maybe we can collaborate and do something more on this. But it's a very, very interdisciplinary, interesting kind of a question that, I mean, we will probably be doing it in 2026, but it's a lot of fun. So, games is a really, really big part of the process. Okay, so the now that we understand the content and the game part, which did you also work on the reporting part a little bit, or what happened there?
Yes, so that is where the second phase of Filibot comes in, and that is the analytics.
Okay.
So, primarily, so after the distribution of the content, after we had sent these activities to the various schools and even released the game, what was now left is to actually see how exactly that is inculcating the skills. And moving forward, we kind of gathered data from these various schools on how exactly are the teachers grading. So, as I mentioned about the competency and skill based pairs, So the teachers were then supposed to grade on each activity and give grades for the competencies and skills according to relative and absolute markings. And through that data, we actually got to know which games are actually supporting one type of competency. And through that, we have now kind of worked on an AI analytics system, which is going to mention that if a particular student, if X student is weak in, let's say, critical thinking, then which activities he should do to kind of move further to improve that skill. So to
Right.
strengthen the biggest skills and competencies you have, but also to better your weaknesses. So that is what the AI analytics system was made. Now the Filibot team worked on not just the back end, but even the front end part of it. For example, this is where I actually learned a lot of programming languages like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, where we first designed a PDF copy of how the report is supposed to look like, and then actually put that through these programming languages and add it to the analytics software so that we can actually have reports generated for these teachers that they can use to further their education in schools. And that was like a very big part of Filibot.
Exactly. That's absolutely right. I mean, all the. I mean, maybe I can. I don't know if I can. Maybe I can share this later in the page in Cheenta where the reports related to this project is, where you can actually go ahead and see the AI generated report for each student, and essentially it sort of personalizes the report for every student, and that is the key part. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done in the report. Actually, it's in a very infancy stage, I would say. For example, we could fine tune the report so that there are action elements for the parents. I was thinking about this, that let's say there is a, maybe the student is not so good in collaboration, then we could probably tell the parent that there is a theater workshop in your town where you can take your kid, and you have to draw that data from the internet, of course, and make sure that the security vulnerabilities are obviously checked. But imagine the width and breadth of the report that can happen. So, one of the great things about leadership projects is that you can really let your imagination run wild. You can like think, and this is a lot of fun, right? So, yeah, Divij, I think this is a great project. Thank you for being a part of it. I was actually hearing from Shoheli. Shoheli Majumdar worked very intensely with the students. Maybe she could not join today, but she was also leading all other leadership groups. So thanks to Shoheli and other people who helped, and thanks to Divij. Divij, we hope to continue this collaboration because, of course, there is a lot of work that needs to be done in this domain, and there's a lot of learning possibilities. So hopefully, we will continue doing this. Okay. Any final
Absolutely.
comments, Divij?
Yes, I mean, so the end goal of the leadership project was to kind of make me into a leader itself. And through all of the activities that we had done, and as you said, like letting your creativity run wild as much as possible, this did not restrict me in any way. Like I could have created, let's say, a game on. So the first game that we actually created, Space Trivia, it was not my first idea. My first idea was related to an ecological conservation game, and we did that as the second game actually. So I mean, the creativity has definitely run wild, and it has formed me into a leader. And I mean, that was what was this leadership project all about. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Divij. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We will again talk about these things later. Okay. Take care. Bye.